friends, welcome back to Coffee, Crochet, and Conversation. Grab your mug, grab your yarn, or honestly, whatever emotional support object you need, because we got a lot to roll through today. All right, weekly recap, because this week has been a whole mood. First up, I have officially entered my suburban mom enlightenment era. I've actually been in it, but with the car now, I feel like I'm re-entering because I can run errands during the week like a functioning adult because I have a reliable car finally. And that first solo drive, pure bliss. Radio blasting, performing a one-woman Broadway show with teenagers nowhere in sight to roll their eyes. Meanwhile, Cloud decided to remind me that I am mortal and capable of fear by puking up a mysterious brown liquid and giving me a cat mom heart attack. They were upset because I moved their cat tower to put up the Christmas tree. So yesterday I got the privilege of moving a fully decorated tree so their cat tower could go back where it belongs. She's fine. She looks like a judgmental diva per usual. And I'm the one who is emotionally damaged and had Christmas ornaments stuck in her hair. But here we are. And then on a brighter note, I accidentally made some side money because apparently my pumpkin rolls are a hot street commodity. Mind the cats, they are excited because, again, the cat tower's back. But folks are buying them like I'm running a pumpkin-flavored underground operation. And really, it's thanks to my secret ingredient, which I will absolutely continue to gatekeep. Because branding, babe. But feel free to guess in the comments. Maybe I'll tell you if you're right. Also, I obliterated my glutes doing leg day with the barbell. Sitting is now, I think, an Olympic sport. Standing, a leap of faith. And stairs, absolutely not. My husband can do the laundry. I am retired until further notice. I also want to add a big shout out to everyone listening from Podcast Addict. You have officially become my second largest listener group. Also, according to my Apple stats, which are a little funky because it depends on your privacy setting on what I see. But right now, what I see is Australia is actually showing up strong. No matter where you are or how you're listening, I see you and I really, really appreciate you. That is the vibe that we are rolling with today. Today, we're diving headfirst into the annual circus known as Family Holiday Chaos. The traditions, the expectations, the children going feral like they've never interacted with a cookie before, and of course, the seasonal WWE event that is the pets versus the Christmas tree. Plus, the stress we all pretend we don't have, but absolutely do. We're also, as always, touching on the non-stop news cycle that refuses to let anyone get a break, and how this week's tarot pool, the Hangman, is pretty much tapping us on the forehead like, hey, babe, maybe flip your perspective before you flip your lid and start spiking your coffee with tequila. So stick around because sometimes the best way forward is literally just to hang there for a minute and try to see things differently. All right, let's get into it. Why the holidays turn into an emotional obstacle course designed by the cat instead of the cozy magical family time that Hallmark has lied to us about. Because listen, the myth of the holidays is all soft lighting, coordinated outfits, and everyone smiling like they actually like each other. The reality, you're sweating over the casserole like you're on a chaotic cooking show. The kids, for some reason, are sticky, and even though they've eaten stuffing every other week of their lives, today is the day that they decided it's laced with poison and they don't want to eat it. Someone is always bored. The potatoes refuse to boil, no matter how aggressively you sit and stare at them. I'm going to put a pro tip here. If you got a pressure cooker, dice them up, 8 minutes, done. Save yourself. Then we have the unspoken generational rules. The one that nobody says out loud, but everyone is apparently just born knowing. Uncle Rick may comment on everybody's life choices, and you are not allowed to be offended. The favorite, every family has a favorite. The favorite may do as they please. Everybody else must fall in line. You must do things this way. Unless, of course, you're the favorite. Then go back to the previous rule. We don't season food that much here. And no politics at dinner unless Uncle Rick starts it, and you're not allowed to contradict anything he says. Each tradition is basically a landmine that is disguised as nostalgia. One snide comment and boom, you're reliving the 1998 trauma next to the cranberry sauce. And also reliving the trauma that there is cranberry sauce. That's a joke. I know some people like it. I'm not a fan. And speaking of comments, let's talk about Aunt whoever. We'll call her Karen. You know the one. She hands out verbal grenades wrapped as, well, I am just saying, bows and sprinkled with, back in my day, glitter. Are you tired? Which translate to, you look like hell. Boy, your kids sure are energetic today. Meaning, control your small gremlins before I judge you harder. It's psychological warfare delivered in an aggressively lime green sweater. And on top of all of this circus, we feel the pressure to perform, to look like we have it all together, to radiate happy family holiday sparkles even when we're overwhelmed, overstimulated, and one loud noise away from ugly crying in the pantry like the Hallmark hero in mid-breakdown. How do we keep our sanity? Well, for one, micro breaths. 10 seconds, where your soul leaves your body and comes back calmer. Bathroom, car, pantry, your call where. 2, have a boundary phrase ready. Something like, you don't say, which nicely means in your brain, shut up, Karen, you shouldn't have said. 3, tag out. Bathroom, garage, mailbox, whatever. Pretend you heard a noise, escape portals are allowed. And most importantly, it is not your job to fix the vibe. If someone wants to be dramatic, let them be the show. You are not there to audition, you're just attending to watch. Holidays are intense because we're chasing impossible ideals while carrying the emotional luggage that of every holiday we had before. But awareness and boundaries, we can dodge the landmines, keep our sanity intact, and maybe throw a bow on it. All right, time for our weekly Stitch Happens story. This segment where something in my life unravels faster than a bargain bin thing of yarn while my coffee gets cold because chaos refuses to take the day off. And today is going to be a little festival throwback to when we brought home our old dog, Mondo, who's passed away, right smack in the Thanksgiving to Christmas emotional gauntlet. I told my husband this was the story I was putting in this week, and he had actually completely forgot all about it till I mentioned it. Picture this. Holiday decorations are in full swing. The tree's up, the lights are glowing, the whole Hallmark movie establishment shocked. And then we bring home Mondo. Sweet, chaotic, and very much not neutered Mondo. Which, look, with the holidays coming, I really did not want to add remove dog testicles to my to-do list. But my kids were little at the time, and my kindergartner and first grader just fell in love instantly with him. So, of course, we loaded him up into the SUV, basketball testicles and all. Where we adopted, there's a contract. It actually requires you to have them neutered once you adopt them within a specific number of days. And then they'll call and you got to give them proof. Otherwise, you bet I probably would have postponed that until, after the seasonal chaos. But no, we had to squeeze his neuter appointment somewhere between Christmas shopping, school concerts, and a gift wrapping marathons. Perfect timing. Magical, even. We manage. Mono comes home from the vet rocking the cone of shame. And by rocking, I mean fighting it like it owed him money. For anyone who's been through the neutering process, the cone is supposed to stay on for 7 to 14 days to protect the stitches. But Mondo had other plans. That dog decided he would rather perish than allow the plastic torture device to remain on his neck. He was wiggling, flailing, doing interpretive dance, attempting parkour. Nothing worked. He was determined though. And then drama hits maximum level. This dog, this absolute legend, stands up on his back paws like a person, looks me dead in the eye with the full-on energy of, this is your last chance to do this the easy way. And when I shook my head, he does a full-on trust fall backwards into the Christmas tree. Tree shaking, ornaments rattling, lights flickering like we were summoning spirits. And meanwhile, Mondo is sprawled in the branches like, and that, mother, is what I think of your cone. We held him, we held the tree, we questioned every life choice that had led to that moment. And finally, because we enjoyed living, in attempt to limit chaos, we accepted that he would actually do more damage with the cone on than off, and surrendered. Mini tip here, if you got a cone hating dog, I guess you can ask your vet about soft cones or inflatable collars. They don't always work, but they're less likely to turn your Christmas tree into collateral damage. Stitch happens, everybody, especially at Christmas. All right, let's get into the real battlefield of the holidays. And no, not dogs eating themselves into Christmas trees. I'm talking about parenting. When your kids are overstimulated, oversugared, overattitude, over everything. And you are just plain over it. Because listen, the holidays basically take your normal routine, toss it in a paper shredder, light it on fire, and then your kids dance around like they're pagan elves high on Christmas cookies that your husband swore the family needed to make it feel like the holidays. Anything familiar? It's gone. Any sense of structure? Well, it's probably taking a nap with the cats, cracking one eye open just to judge you. It's beautiful. It's magical. It's a nightmare dipped in chocolate and edible glitter. And then for me, I get to add in the layers of parenting an autistic child during the holidays. Oh, buddy, everything gets louder, everything gets bigger, everything gets more. More noise, more people, more expectations, more last minute schedule changes because Aunt Karen didn't check the group chat, more sensory overload for him, more emotional and sensory overload for you. Experts say holidays are especially hard on autistic kids because their routine disappears. Lights and sounds attack them from every direction, and social demands pile up like laundry we pretend that isn't there. It's really not rebellion. It's them overwhelmed. It's like trying to parent inside a snow globe. The dog keeps shaking because it thinks it's prey. And let's be honest, it's not just the kids having meltdowns. You're right there internally screaming too. Them. This is too much. You. Wow, same, bestie. But I don't get to scream about it unless I want to look like Kevin McAllister's mom on the airport floor. So here's the key. Grounding tricks. Tiny survival tools that keep you from spontaneously combusting or spiking your first cup of coffee with rum. Here's a few go-tos that for me actually work. Micro breaks. 30 seconds behind a closed door. Breathing like you're rebooting your soul. Reset, return, continue on with the mission. 2. Actually name what's happening. This is sensory overload and not rebellion. Autism specialists swear by this. Labeling the moment changes actually how you respond to it. It makes you shift from being defensive to being supportive. 3. This is a key one. Lower the bar. It is okay if the holiday does not look like Instagram Winter Wonderland starter pack. The goal here is survival and connection, not curating ghost town photos that will get like 3 likes, Aunt Karen's comments, and then vanish into the algorithm void. If you have a partner, tag team the chaos. You take the kids for 5, I go scream in the car, and then we'll switch. It is a sacred ritual. Redirect instead of resist. Sometimes the meltdown is going to happen no matter what. So guiding the wave is easier than trying to plug the volcano. So you hug, you hold, you shh, and shepherd them through until the storm passes. And here's a magic trick nobody tells you. Micro moments will come. Nothing big. Not that big fancy self-care that influencers try to sell us, the escape to Bali for inner peace nonsense. Excuse me, ma'am, I'm lucky if I can escape to the bathroom without somebody yelling through the door or Cloud body checking it, trying to get it open. We do not have time for that between now and January. I'm talking about a tiny nervous system reset. Science literally says it will help your brain shift out of that fight-flight response. Get your cup of coffee, cocoa, whatever, and just hold it in your hands. 1 minute of quiet on a porch. Single deep breath and a whisper, "Not today, Satan," as you gently step away from the chaos. These micro habits that say, I may be overwhelmed, but I am not drowning, not today. Parenting during the holidays is messy, loud, unpredictable, overstimulating, and absolutely exhausting. Think of your daily chaos times 10, tied up with a bow and drenched in glitter. But those grounding moments, they help you steer the ship instead of getting swept away by the waves. And really, that is what your kids are going to remember. Not the perfect photos, not the coordinated outfits, not the color-coded cookies. They'll remember their parents made the season feel safe, warm, and special, even amongst all the chaos. And that, my friends, is the real magic of the holidays. All right, folks, settle in, sip up. It's time for Brews News, your weekly blend of politics, panic, and piping hot nonsense. First up, a story that is moving so quickly that between the time it took me to write it last night and record it this morning, I've already had to change it. So let's start with the headline. Congressional Democrats had dropped 20,000 pages. Yes, 20,000 of Jeffrey Epstein emails and documents. Buried inside, mentions of people like Donald Trump and former strategist Steve Bannon, along with many others. Trump's response? Well, he wants a DOJ investigation into the Democrat people that were mentioned. Bold move. But here's a plot twist that Rihanna Johnson couldn't have written better. Legal experts say that launching an investigation could actually reseal the files, hiding them again like a raccoon when the porch light flips on. A lot of people will comment, well, Biden had the files for 4 years and he didn't release it. That's why. It was sealed. You had Ghislaine Maxwell's trial and all her appeals. They were still looking into other people. It wasn't until it was deemed over and the appeals were done that it was possible for them to release the files. But literally yesterday, the House passed the Epstein File Transparency Act in a rare moment of bipartisan, wait, we agreed on this, unity. Now, there was a little gamemanship going on. The Republican side did something about limiting their debate time. So the Democrats loaned their time to Republicans like Thomas Massey and MTG so they could make statements since they were signers and really supporters of, they helped bring the bill to fruition. But after all that gamesmanship, it wasn't even a close vote. 427-1. The lone no came from Rep. Clay Higgins of Louisiana. And his reasoning, he says, is privacy concerns. Trump even reversed his opposition over the weekend and told Republicans to vote yes. Speaker Mike Johnson himself voted yes. And then, in a lightning move, the Senate approved it unanimously. No roll call, just unanimous consent. So now the bill will head to Trump's desk, where he has said on True Social that he'll sign it. Survivor privacy protections are baked in the bill, so the release will redact their personal details. I know some victims are Jane Doe and, they got to be careful of descriptions and anything that would possibly give away the identities of the ones that don't want their names released. And here's the kicker. The Senate move was actually a smart play by the Democrats. Now, why do I say this? Speaker Mike Johnson had already been talking in press conferences about how the bill needed to be fixed or changed. And a lot of people were worried that they were going to try and make it dead in the water by taking their time fixing. But by moving quickly and locking in survivor protections, Democrats cut off the space for Johnson to stall or demand edits. They basically turned his own words into momentum. So the plot thickens aggressively and very, 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 very quickly. Meanwhile, while you're trying to figure out whether you needed to thaw the turkey yesterday or last week, turkey math is hard. The Senate tucked a cute little gift into the funding bill, a provision that lets senators sue the government if their phone records were accessed without notice. So translation to that, just eight senators might get a payday up to $500,000 of taxpayer money per device because their numbers showed up in a DOJ call log tied to January 6th. We're not talking wiretaps. They didn't go through anybody's phone, just literally a printout of phone numbers and the length of the call. Critics are calling it a self-serving perk snuck into a mass pass bill. Congress basically said, do as I say, not as I dial. So let's talk tariff and turkey prices. In the economic circus news, Trump is now rolling back food tariffs and declaring himself the hero of Thanksgiving prices. His proof? Well, he points to Walmart holiday dinner basket as proof. See? Cheaper. Yeah, kind of. The Walmart bundle is 25% cheaper than last year. So it's $40 instead of $55. But the fact checkers noted there are fewer items, downsized portions, and mostly store brand swaps. So instead of stovetop, you get great value. So the savings, more smoke than stuffing. And hey, I am all for shopping store brand. That's usually what I get anyway. But, you put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig. Critics say it's classic Trump. Start to fire and then take a bow for putting half of it out with a wet napkin. So, all right, that is your updated Brews News. Corruption, secrecy, and questionable economic math, which is just as hard sometimes as turkey math, all served in one steaming pour. So stick around because the next batch of chaos is always brewing quickly. All right, folks, now that we survived the chaos and all the parenting meltdowns, let's actually talk about managing family expectations without losing your ever-loving mind or, potentially catching an assault charge in the process. First up, boundaries. These are your absolute bestie. Yes, even during the holidays, especially during the holidays. And no, setting them does not automatically summon World War III. Though it might fluff a few feathers, but listen, it is better to ruffle a few feathers than to pluck them bald. Say what you need clearly, kindly, and with the confidence of someone who's stuffing in the oven and zero patience left. And remember, you don't owe anyone a dissertation on why your no is actually a full sentence. Next, emotional landmines. Favoritism? Check. Old wounds popping up like seasonal allergies? Check. Passive-aggressive commentary dressed up as casual conversation? Oh, absolutely. The holidays' unofficial sport. This whole season is a psychological booby trap buffet. However, awareness is half the battle. The other half? Not taking the bait. Sidestep it like a ninja. Smile and nod like you're buffering. Or, my personal favorite, oh shoot, I forgot something in the car. Boom. Escape unlocked. Half your relatives won't even notice that you actually vanished. Being genuine. Here's the real heart of it. Showing up as yourself. You can participate without letting anyone bulldoze your values, your boundaries, or your sanity. Be yourself. Imperfect, messy, caffeinated, overstimulated, and let that be enough, because it is enough. If someone has a problem with the real you, that is not your problem. That's theirs. And if they don't want to, they don't have to invite you next year. Honestly, to me, sounds like a win either way. Exit strategies. Now, if things do get awkward, which they will, exit strategies are essential. Bathroom trips are a universal diplomatic immunity. Kitchen errands, excellent alibi. Garage mini mental health breaks, highly underrated. Or my favorite little gem. Oh dang, I forgot my lactate pills. Nobody has follow-up questions after that. You are free, baby. Not your circus. Listen carefully, because this one changes lives. You do not have to fix everyone. You do not have to mediate. You do not have to entertain the family drama gremlins. Not your circus, not your monkeys, not your emotional cleanup duty. Your actual job? Survive the table intact, coffee in hand, and if you can, maybe quietly record the material and send it to me for a future Stitch Happens segment. New traditions. And finally, this is your official permission slip to create your own traditions. If something is causing you more stress than joy, opt out. No permission needed. Remember, I don't want to is a complete and valid sentence. Build the holidays that work for you and your family. And if, you're a little low on the family side, create your own family with your friends. Ugly sweater contest at 2 a.m. Iconic. Breakfast for dinner on Christmas Eve. Yummy. Friendsgiving with people you actually like. Revolutionary. No people at all? Well, chicken nuggets and silence counts as a tradition too. Because the best way to manage family expectations isn't to meet them. It's to rewrite them. Choose the rituals that bring joy. Ditch the ones that drain you and build a holiday that actually feels like yours. My kids they don't eat turkey. They don't eat ham. So a lot of times I'll make a roasted chicken. Nobody says what you have to eat. So whether it's ugly sweaters, breakfast for dinner, or blessed silence with chicken nuggets, it's still a tradition worth keeping for yourself. All right, friends, it's time for our Shuffle Happens, where we figure out what the universe is whispering, nudging, or on occasion yelling at us. In this week's card, the Hangman. So picture this bright sun pouring over a massive ancient forest. In the center stands a great tree with a curved trunk that forms a natural seat, almost like it grew specifically for people to sit and reflect. A man sits there facing the glowing horizon. The light is so intense, you can only see the outlines, no details. Like the world is inviting him to look deeper, not harder. On the shadow side of the forest, tiny fairies are peeling off from the sun rays, carrying sparks of light into the darker places. At the top of the tree, a lantern glows steady. Another lantern hangs lower from a rope. Around it, a larger fairy hovering nearby as if she's swapping secrets with the man. The whole vibe feels hopeful, but with a warning. If you stare only at the light, you'll miss the details. Sometimes, like the fairies, you have to take the light with you into the places you rather avoid. The Hangman is all about shifting perspective, especially when it feels uncomfortable or inconvenient. Upright, it asks us to pause, breathe, reflect, and surrender control instead of bulldozing forward. Reversed, it calls out our resistance, clinging to the old rules, the old expectations, or timelines that do not serve us anymore. During family chaos, it is the cosmic reminder that not everything needs your immediate reaction. Sometimes the smartest move is stepping back and not stepping in. This card lines up perfectly with today's theme: navigating holiday stress and family expectations. Every time I dropped the pressure to perform, the old role that I felt shoved into, things actually got easier. The holidays finally shifted for me when I stopped chasing perfection for everyone else and focused on making them meaningful for my kids. That's when the stress and trauma of my past holidays stopped leaking into their present holidays. So the Hangman asks us to pause and shift the view, carry the light, even the small pieces, into the darker corners instead of staring at the glare. That's how we find hope in the chaos, and maybe even joy, one perspective shift at a time. All right, besties, that's wrap for today's episode. So, quick recap. We tackled the holiday emotional obstacle course, the parenting chaos marathon, and how to set boundaries without losing your ever-loving mind. And we leaned into the upside-down wisdom of the Hangman. Remember, you are not alone in the holiday circus. Take your space, take deep breaths, don't be afraid to hit pause, or if you need to, slam that full stop button. And hey, I'd love to hear from you. Send me your chaotic family stories, the good, the messy, and the why is this happening moments. Bonus points if you help feed the algorithm monster while you at it. Follow, like, share, tell a friend. Maybe not Aunt Karen, because who needs it? Quick heads up though, I'm not going to do a show next week. With it being Thanksgiving week, I'm afraid that the quality of the show won't be good, or I'm just going to get way too overwhelmed trying to do a show with all that is Thanksgiving. Recharge those batteries, make some stitches, maybe drink an extra cup of coffee for me, for my global listeners who aren't celebrating Thanksgiving. You want, there's a library of shows. You can go back and listen to an old one if you miss me. Until we're back, keep your stitches sassy, your coffee strong, and as always, your spirit grounded.